Okay, you're good.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rabbi Rothschild. It's a pleasure to be with Connor today. I would like to introduce myself a little bit. I stream my life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for world peace. I don't want war anymore anywhere in the world. I've been live streaming my life since the pandemic, or more than 3.5 years. We've seen the death of a queen, the birth of AI, the coronation of a king, and everything in between. Bill Gates coined the phrase in the 1990s that content is king, and I'm making it true today. In 2018, The Economist magazine stated that data was Earth's number one resource, more valuable than air, food, water, gold, petroleum, everything. And I have more data online than any person ever, which may make me an influential person someday. And if that occurs, I want to help everyone who's helped me along the way, including Connor and his community, and everybody else in my community, and everyone else I've met along these 3.5 years of a journey. Some of the things that we discuss on this stream, which is really a time capsule or the world's largest timeline of society, are things like anti gravity, antimatter. We talk about faster than light travel, dark energy, dark matter. Talk about things like de extinction technology. The extinction technology is essentially bringing things that were once extinct back to living condition. So people don't know that the first successful de-extinction took place with the Pyrenean ibex, which was like a goat in northern Spain, southern France, that was de-extincted in the year 2003. Fast forward to the year 2021, a company out of Dallas, Texas, leading company known as Colossal Bioscientific, is founded. They've made it their goal that within the next 3 years that they would de-extinct the woolly mammoth and reintroduce the woolly mammoth back into the Arctic Circle, and using African elephants, which I feel is a very exciting opportunity for humanity to be able to witness. Following the reintroduction of the woolly mammoth, this company wants to reintroduce the Tasmanian tiger, and followed by the dodo bird. These are all things that I'm excited to perhaps be able to document on my stream, and for the good of humanity. Other things that we discuss, in addition to de extinction, are things like alien disclosure, which is a subject that's near and dear to my heart, things like life extension technology. So, probably when Connor was born, and most of the listeners out there, when you were born, your average life expectancy, if it was in the Western world, was probably about age 80. And I want to extend that through the use of different technologies to maybe age 100 and 120, through the use of technology like stem cells, human growth hormone, perhaps steroids, nootropics, things like cryonics or cryogenics, perhaps the use of cold shock therapies or nootropics. These are all things that we may be able to utilize to be able to advance human life extension to at least the year 120 years. But then many of you may say, "Okay, Rabbi, I've made it to 120 years. My body's starting to break down. Now what?" That's where the next level of technology that we discuss a lot on this stream comes into play, and that's known as mind uploading technology. What's mind uploading technology, you may ask? Well, for anyone listening out there, I think there may be an opportunity that some of you may not die someday. Essentially, you could be transhuman people, where we scan your brain into a computer like a CAT scan or an MRI for later download, knowing where every atom is in your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system, and essentially be able to store that, or eventually to create an android, an avatar, a cyborg, a cybernetic being, a clone of yourself, a robot, an ethereal being, whatever you want to be. But these are very exciting discussions that we have at a life of perhaps in the future of digital immortality, and there are things that I explore on this stream. I will say that this stream was originally inspired kind of in an innocent way of me just wanting to get my golf swing on camera, and would go after work to Tiger Woods' golf course in Anaheim, California, and video myself and some of the things that I was saying on camera I thought were funny, and maybe perhaps my future family might want to see what their father was like. And so I would archive that and upload it to the internet. That was taking me too long to do every single night, and I realized that, you know what, maybe I should just stream it. But if I'm going to stream, I'm going to stream better than anybody ever. So I bought many different cameras, and I bought many different Chromebooks and laptops and such, and put them around my room so that you could watch me in 360 degrees. By my career, in addition to being a rabbi, which is Hebrew for teacher, I am a certified project management professional, which means that essentially, I am the person who organizes and oversees the completion of projects. I've launched apps on the App Store and Google Play. I've completed contracts with Fortune 500 companies and international project launches. So I do have a technical background, and I have utilized that since the pandemic and much of that knowledge into my everyday life to be able to provide the world's largest single archive of human data ever created. And with that, there's a little bit of an introduction about who I am and what I do. I appreciate this opportunity. And Connor, I'm ready for any questions that you may have.
Perfect. Yeah, so, let's just, get right into it. So, if you want to tell me, you know, just like, besides, all the opinions and stuff that you have, um, would you want to tell me a little bit, like, about what you like to do and all that?
Absolutely. I love hobbies. I love really digging into certain activities. I love golf. I love art. I love science. I love learning. I'm someone who likes to teach people. I like video games. I like board games. I like any kind of game. I'm very competitive, although I don't let it get the best of me. I like to win at things. So everything from Madden, which is like the NFL football games I love, to FIFA, which are soccer games, to Fortnite, to chess and checkers and tic tac toe. Really, whatever it is, if somebody's willing to play against me and I have the time, I love to play. Other things I like to do, I like to run. I like long distance running. I find it to be a great way to stay fit and healthy and such. It's difficult for me to do because I am on the stream all the time and I can't live stream my runs. But prior to utilizing these streams, I was an avid runner. I would run every single day. I have many friends who are runners. So running's interesting to me. I really think that overall physical fitness is important to people. It's difficult to do as much as I'm on stream and I have to really focus on these streams, but I find those things to be interesting. I like sociology, I like philosophy. Certainly, I love religion and religious teachings. I'm into, I like cars and different types of transportation, planes, boats, yachts. I do my best to stay as well rounded of an individual as possible. I love history. History is really important to me. I feel that we are those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And so I like to learn about ancient civilizations and just overall anything that is interesting. I do my best to make it a hobby of mine.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so you know, I wanted to also talk to you because, you said you have many devices and all that, like about, about just like spreading positivity and, showing people love on their live streaming platform. Um, and I was wondering, because I know people definitely give you hate, but does it ever get to you?
I do my best to not let it get to me. I let it roll off me like water off a duck's back. When people are mean to me, I do my best to be extra nice to them. There's a saying, kill them with kindness, and I do my best to do that. So even when people send me mean DMs or they're mean to me in a voice chat, I do my best to ask them how their day is going and if there's anything I can do to help them. And even though they're maybe cussing at me or sending me hateful messages, when they recognize that I don't let it get to me and that I just enhance my level of kindness to them, they get confused. Many times I get people who say, you know what, Rabbi, I was here to make your life difficult and I wanted to pick on you, and you're very different than what I once thought. You are very caring and very positive and a very optimistic person. You've told me that you're here and I understand your message, and you have built an ally with me. I get people on a weekly basis who come into my Discord to tell me that, or who are in my DMs to tell me that, and that's very positive to me, and it's very, um, it's very, it's very healing to me to know that really I could have been born in their shoes and they could have been born in my shoes. We could have been born in different countries around the world. And perhaps if I were in their shoes and doing this to someone, it would change my mentality if I saw the way in which they handled many of the hateful things that happened to them. So I do my best to be a light to the nations. I do my best to be an optimistic individual and be very positive, and I don't let it get to me. I don't let people bully me. I think that comes from a sense of internal comfort. Uh, Frankly, I know I'm a cool person, and nobody can take that away from me. And when you have that type of confidence, self confidence in yourself, there's no one who can destroy it. Basically, I'm the person who is going to dictate my success in life, and I'm not going to let somebody else do that.
Perfect. And yeah, you know, I think I see, you're getting a lot of criticism when you're just, trying to spread love and positivity and all that. So I admire you for that.
Absolutely. There's a saying from George Orwell's 1984, which was written in 1948, published in 1949. It's along these lines. I don't know if it's an exact quote, but it's something like in an age of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. And many times people go on the internet and they expect people to they expect that they'll be able to hurt other people due to their anonymity, that no one can get to them, and I don't let that kind of language hurt me. There's a phrase growing up as a child that I heard: sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And so, no matter what anybody types to me or sends to me or says to me, I know that that can't hurt me. And I have that type of mentality, and I know that no one out there, no matter who they are, will be able to break that. So long as I have internal confidence, I'll be able to achieve whatever I wish.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that answer. And I think it's awesome what you're doing as well. People are gonna always people send me hate on my streams, but I just try to ignore it. Sometimes it gets to your head, but that's just how people are. But anyway, um, I tend to want to get into the controversial stuff about aliens and all that. So just
Excellent.
just tell me like what you believe, and then I'll say my side of it.
100%. Well, firstly, thank you so much, Connor, for allowing me to talk about this subject. It's one of my favorite subjects in the entire world. So, I believe that perhaps humankind was seeded here by extraterrestrial biological entities. I don't know this for a fact, but I get much of this information from government whistleblowers, from declassified documents, even from alien abductees. So I think that Earth is essentially a zoo or an experiment for some type of extraterrestrial civilizations. There are arguments that it may have been the Anunnaki or the alien Greys or the the Aryan people. I don't know exactly who seeded us here, but I just know that at least according to Bob Lazar, if you know who that is, Bob Lazar was a nuclear physicist at Area 51, specifically S4, and his onboarding when he took the position in the late 1980s at Area S4, that he had read that aliens had completed at around 60 different uh, evolutionary mutations on human DNA, and so that our development may have been aided to get us to the contemporary beings that we are. I think that much of this information is difficult to verify, but what isn't so difficult to verify are many of the more recent events that have occurred, specifically with the major one, Roswell. If you're not familiar with what Roswell was, allegedly an alien craft crashed near Corona, New Mexico, specifically on a farmer's land named Mac Brazel. He essentially called the local sheriff. They recognized that the material that they found there could not be burned. It was difficult to bend. There were perhaps bodies that they had found, and eventually the United States Air Force was called from Roswell. They collected all of the debris. It was published in the Roswell newspaper originally as a crash disk that had been discovered, but then very quickly a cover story was lent to the major media that stated that it was not a crash disk, but it was a weather balloon. And there were some pictures that were associated with this of a weather balloon that were basically used to as a cover story. Now, there were many governmental institutions that were started right around 1947 into 1948, 1949, including the CIA, the National Security Administration, Project Blue Book, Project Grudge, many covert and classified government entities started around this time, which may have been related to Roswell. Now, if you have ever heard of the book The Day After Roswell by Colonel Philip Corso, he essentially was the person who was in charge of some of these programs to reverse engineer much of what was found at Roswell, um, to be able to give to defense contractors and allow them to slowly seep it into the public through different types of technology. So some of the technology that may have been gleaned from Roswell are things like the computer transistor, are things like microwave technology, perhaps different types of radar, perhaps the laser, perhaps Teflon, perhaps night vision, which was allegedly reverse engineered from the alien eye. Many of the things that we currently use today and perhaps take for granted were gleaned from the Roswell crash. If you look at human development from for the last 2,000 years, up until around World War II, it was really not as it didn't develop as quickly. Sure, the Industrial Revolution had a major part in this, but really it was horse and buggy, whether it was a chariot or getting into the carriage for thousands of years. It was very similar, except once we start getting into the 20th century and perhaps some of this technology had been reverse engineered for the purpose of improving human life in exchange for some agreements. Now, if you've ever heard, I believe it's called the Granada Treaty or something along those lines, there was allegedly a meeting between President Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States, who took office in 1952, um, allegedly in 1954 or around 1954. And anything that I say, I'm just going off of memory, so my numbers could be a little off here, but allegedly around 1954 at Edwards Air Force Base in California, and also perhaps um, at another Air Force base, in addition to another Air Force base in New Mexico. There was a treaty that was drafted and signed between the United States government and these alien beings that we would be able to utilize the technology that was gleaned from these crashes in exchange for the alien abductee program. So, if you're not aware, the people in today's day and age, it happens every single day, are people who are abducted, and some people are perhaps allegedly impregnated, or they have spermatozoa removed from them, they have ovum or eggs removed from them. This is where the idea of the probe comes into play. But the first major alien abduction took place in the 1960s with Betty and Barney Hill. And what's really interesting about their case, it happened in New Hampshire, and they were an interracial couple, which was very rare for the day. And essentially, they were driving home in New Mexico when they saw a light, and they experienced, while driving in the car, they saw a light, and they experienced a period of missing time. And this period of missing time is something that many alien abductees experience. And what occurs many times is that they are taken from their location, perhaps brought into a craft, experiments are done on them, and then they are put back in their original location. Usually, sometimes they're found far from their location. Sometimes their clothes aren't put on correctly, or their buttons aren't correct. But there is a period of missing time, and many times they have some type of mind or memory eraser, that they don't actually remember what happened to them, and it causes them confusion. It causes them fear. What has been utilized to be able to get some of these repressed memories is um, a form of hypnosis that is completed with a professional, that many times allows them to understand what happened to them using these types of memory regression techniques. So, but alien abductions have been happening, perhaps going back to antiquity or even before. Just like we tag animals when we do biological experiments on them, and we sometimes put some type of RFID chip in them or something like that. Aliens do the same to us. So that leads me to the next element of this, which is Dr. Roger Lear, who was a doctor who did at least 20 different surgeries on alien abductees where they had implants in their body. Some of the major places for implants are right here in the hand, sometimes at the base of their neck. But essentially, these once the alien implants have been removed, they're like little Tic Tacs, if you know what that candy is. These Tic Tacs are found to have non-earth metals in them. So this isn't just a story that people are saying. This is actual hard evidence of something that's not from Earth that has been implanted in these individuals. With that, moving into the past the 40s and Roswell, past the 50s and these treaties, perhaps past the 60s and the alien abductions, which all of this continues. We move into the 70s, and really disinformation campaigns that had been occurring but continue to occur. There's the Men in Black phenomenon that occurs shortly after Roswell, where basically government people would come around and tell people to not speak out about many of the experiences that they have. But what really gets interesting is into the 1980s and a man who I mentioned earlier named Bob Lazar. And the reason why Bob Lazar is fascinating, he worked at Los Alamos Labs in New Mexico and was recruited to work at Area S4, Area 51, through by a man named Dr. Edward Teller. If you know who Dr. Edward Teller is, along with J. Robert Oppenheimer, they are essentially the fathers of atomic weaponry. And just a quick story of how uh, Bob Lazar became associated with Edward Teller. Bob Lazar is a very interesting individual. He had built a rocket engine, put a rocket engine in his Honda, and the local Los Alamos newspaper had written an article about him. Edward Teller was at Los Alamos Labs at the time to give a speech. Was reading the newspaper. Bob went up to him or something along those lines and said, "Hey, you know that article you're reading about me is, or the article you're reading about that car is actually my car." They get to talking, and Edward Teller puts him in touch with EG&G, which is a defense contractor that eventually hires him on to work at Area 51. He works at Area 51 for not very long period of time, perhaps less than 2 years or so. But what he's able to learn there is very important. In addition to the information, perhaps on human, the alien manipulation of human DNA, he learns about something known as element 115, which is known as Moscovium or Un Pentium, that is used allegedly to power UFOs or alien crafts. I'm talking discs. And he actually has the opportunity to view these discs at Area S4. If you don't know where Area S4 is, it's about 15 or so miles south of Area 51, near the on the Nevada test site, just about 100 miles north of Las Vegas. And other things that he learned, Bob Lazar learned at Area 51, are things about antimatter, or apologies, anti-gravity. So the ability to manipulate gravity in reverse, essentially, to be able to levitate. All of this type of technology that Bob Lazar experienced, especially in the 1980s, was really science fiction and wasn't being discussed in the mainstream. But since then, because of Bob Lazar's contributions to society, these now have become much more mainstream in today's day and age. What happens to Bob Lazar? It's complicated, but basically he takes his friends to the Nevada test site and allows them to see UFOs or craft that are flying at a given time. It happened to be Wednesday at around midnight or 10 p.m. to midnight. The reason why is that's when traffic in the area was the lightest, and he was able to show his friends, and they were able to videotape this, and they end up getting caught. They end up the government bosses end up terminating him from his position. He goes on to the local news. That's where George Knapp, still an anchor for Las Vegas, KLAS, I believe it is in Las Vegas. He is able to go under like a shadow, kind of where they distort your voice and everything, but he's able to talk about what he worked on at the Nevada test site. This goes, we didn't have the term viral then, but it goes, for lack of a better word, it goes viral, at least amongst the UFO community, that we have a government whistleblower who's talking about this alien technology. In addition, George Knapp had met Bob Lazar through their mutual friend John Lear. John Lear's father is Bill Lear. He's the man who invented the Lear jet, and John Lear was a CIA pilot and one of the most decorated pilots in aviation history. So these are verified, vetted individuals, and eventually that gets us into the 1990s, where there is a major disinformation campaign on Area 51 itself. There are video games that come out as Area 51, aliens movies that come out, Men in Black comes out, Independence Day comes out. Essentially, this is what's known in ufology as soft disclosure. It's not just this like one day where they show on the news that aliens are here. It is a slow process that has been coming. We get into the early 2000s with the Tic Tac event that happened. Off the USS Nimitz and essentially off the coast of San Diego, which was documented. And what is that? Basically, a FLIR. It's like a type of camera that is able to see heat and it's used in the military. Was able to capture this event where some type of tic tac UFO was traveling much faster than any conventional aircraft that we know, and was able to make 90-degree turns at speeds that would have killed any kind of human pilots, and caused a lot of confusion to the people who witnessed this. This is not really made too public until a New York Times article occurs around the year 2018. But basically, when you have the New York Times and other mainstream um, media organizations starting to take this seriously, we recognize that this soft disclosure is occurring. And then we get into the 2020s where President Biden has been asked about these things. President Trump has been asked about these things. In fact, I've heard President Trump perhaps tomorrow may have some kind of briefing on the recent drones that have been seen off the coast of the United States, specifically off of the coast of New Jersey, and have been causing confusion amongst many different people and the populace. And I think this is all, in summary, what's known as soft disclosure. One other event, the event that really changed my mind, and for anyone out there listening, I was the biggest UFO skeptic that you could have had because I thought this was all made up in Hollywood, until I saw the Disclosure Project. And if you haven't seen the Disclosure Project, it was a press conference organized by Dr. Stephen Greer, early May of 2001, where he brought in a couple dozen whistleblowers, people who worked for the FAA, people who worked at like I believe one man's name is Charles Brown. Another person, Dr. Rosen, worked for Werner von Braun, the father of American rocketry, where they would talk about perhaps what would happen in the future. There would be soft disclosure. Perhaps there may be some type of like World War III event, and then eventually we may have some type of contact, some type of major event with contact. Other whistleblowers talk about in this press conference. They talk about how NASA airbrushes UFOs out of photographs before they make them available to the public. When I saw there were many different whistleblowers, it just wasn't one person, and they had the courage, and all those people who spoke out there who had the courage to do what they did, it convinced me, and it convinced hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of other people out there that this was a very real, very serious topic, and that we aren't alone, that we need to have this conversation with ourselves, with our governments, with our media in a mature fashion and get to the bottom of what's going on. It's for the good of humanity. It's for the good of all beings in the universe that humans are starting to understand what is occurring. And then in conclusion to this topic, or at least this initial discussion of it, we get into where we are as humans from a civilization standpoint. So there's something known as the Kardashev scale. There's type 1 civilizations, type 2 civilizations, and type 3 civilizations. With just off the top of my head, we're at like a zero point 0.7 or so. We have been graded at essentially what kind of civilization we are, meaning that we still aren't a type 1 civilization that can utilize all of the power of its star system. And then basically like type 2 civilization gets into more advanced ways of harnessing energy, and then type 3 gets into being able to harness all of the energy from close galaxies and such. We are still at the infancy of what we are to be as a civilization. So many people think, oh, we're so advanced because we have smartphones and we have advanced diagnostics of human biology, and we have genetic manipulation. All of that's really great, but in the big scheme of things, from an intergalactic civilization, we're still very primitive. And with that being said, I am a huge advocate for alien disclosure. I feel it's a topic that isn't discussed enough. It's not taken seriously. Many times it's made into a joke by politicians and people in the media, and it's a very serious subject. And I take it very seriously. And I want you to know, Connor, I very much appreciate you allowing me to take the extra time to be able to discuss it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think what there's a lot of truth behind all these things that occur, and so it's kind of a tricky subject for me to get into because I'm not very good with all this. But I think there is something out there. I just don't know if it's here already with us or if it's above us. You know, like on the moon or something. So that's where like my point of view comes in. And
So long as you approach the subject with an open mind, which it sounds like you do, the truth will set you free. The more that you study on the matter, the more evidence you'll find, and eventually, the more people who are exposed to this information will have their will be convinced just as I am. And I look forward to a day where this subject can be discussed in mainstream and not be seen as taboo.
yeah, and I think the government, you know, shouldn't hide this stuff from us. But it's just sad that they, you know, that they hide it from us, and some people have to come out and from the government and say what's really going on.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I wanted to also ask you. Um, so have you always been a rabbi, or have you always been, Jewish, or like what's your? Can I ask what your religion ideology is?
Oh, certainly. I am Jewish. I was born Jewish. I can trace my lineage through my mother, going back to the Bible. My grandmother's grandmother comes from the Zegelmeyer family. Zegelmeyer is German, but Yiddish. Zegel is the pet name of Batzazel, the chief architect of the Mishkan, which was like the traveling tabernacle of the Bible. So I have some connection to the Bible that way. And then Meyer is Yiddish to mean enlightened. Um, I am someone who never planned to be a rabbi, but after some very serious devotion and attendance at synagogue or shul, and taking classes for many years, both in Torah and just overall general Bible and Gemara or Talmud. I was encouraged by my peers and other people within my synagogue and my community to study with rabbis, and my rabbi as well set me up with some rabbinical colleagues of his. And during the pandemic, I was able to complete my study with a rabbinical colleague via my colleague was in Israel at the time. And then from there, we had the pandemic that was going on where really people weren't meeting like they normally would, and many even things in synagogue, classes in synagogue, were virtual. And I became much more familiar with computers and technology, and felt that there were enough guys and learned individuals who could teach people about the Bible and about the Talmud and about kosher living and about family planning and such. And that my I wanted to make my mission to be really have an overall humanist ideology, that we move away from the things that separate us so much between Jews and non-Jews, or men and women, or whatever the divisions may be, and we have an overall more unifying idea of what religion should be. So I do practice uh, as orthodox a life as I can. I daven every single day. I run tefillin every day. I read from my sitter, my religious books, but generally, I do my best to teach on the topics that we've discussed, many of the ideas of life extension and humanist thought. And I think that we're moving towards a day of religious monism, monism, where we don't let the small divisions of our religiosity separate us, whether not just within Judaism, but also within the other religions as well. We are all Abrahamic religions, at least in the Western world, it being Islam and Christianity. And that means we all have a common source. And I find that it's very beneficial for humans, and specifically we as Jews, to be a light to those nations, to be good examples to them. And thus, as I do my best to be a good person, to be a good rabbi, to teach on a multitude of subjects. But also, I know that there are experts in some fields that are have spent their entire lives essentially learning, and so I do my best to provide these types of teachings to my community, whether it's on Jewish history, Jewish lectures, Orthodox living, whatever it may be. And really, I utilize technology, I feel, in a way that many, even modern Orthodox teachers, don't do. I feel I can be the absolute best rabbi in the entire world, not because I'm smarter than anybody, not because of my background, but because I have a tool that no other previous rabbis have had, and that's artificial intelligence. I can go to artificial intelligence and ask it any question in the Bible that I want. Like, for instance, how many times is the word honey used in the Bible? If you ask any rabbi in the world, they don't know that off the top of their head. They'd either have to count or have a yeshiva count for them, basically a school take on this project. But because of AI, I have all of this information at the touch of a button, and I'm able to glean as much as I want from it. And thus, I feel that the utilization of AI, specifically in the rabbinical world, gives me a gift that previous rabbis have not had the opportunity to utilize, and I utilize on a daily basis. If I don't know the answer, or I'm not absolutely sure of the answer, I can always consult with a colleague. But in addition to that, I have the ability to use AI and get people answers faster and more accurately than ever before. And that's why I feel the teachings that I have are really revolutionary. We have had a period of, in Judaism, different phases of where we are historically. And I traditionally have had, at least from my rabbinical studies, a Hasidic background, but also really which is Orthodox, but also a modern Orthodox background. And I think we're moving towards a new future. And so I call my teachings postmodern orthodoxy, basically utilizing the traditions of the past with many of the advancements that we have of the future. And I think we're at a really special time of uh, both within Judaism and both within anyone who is religious or even just spiritual, that we have such tools like AI and like the ability to communicate anywhere in the world immediately, by using the internet, to be able to connect and really learn more in a more accurate, more efficient manner. And I personally do my best to utilize these technologies as best as I can. I don't see them as a replacement for me. I see them as an enhancement to me.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome that you're using your resources to your advantage, you know. And
Thank you. For instance, if I may,
yeah, for sure.
I am I am a native English speaker, and my Hebrew, while it does exist, it could always be better. Every Israeli's Hebrew could be better. They perhaps should be speaking Yiddish. You never know. Even my Yiddish, even I stream on YouTube and I have Yiddish subtitles. Even that could use some tweaking. But what we have in today's day and age that we didn't have a decade ago, and especially not centuries ago, are things like universal translators, where this device allows me to translate into any language, not just Hebrew, not just Yiddish, not just Ladino, but any language that I want instantaneously, which can make me a better communicator than I've ever been before.
המכשיר הזה מאפשר לי לתרגם לכל שפה, לא רק לעברית, עדיין לא, זה לא רק שפה שאני רוצה באופן מיידי, מה שיכול להפוך מיומני סיוט טוב יותר ממה שהייתי אי פעם.
If you couldn't hear, what this device does is it translates any language into any language. So previously, when people would maybe perhaps have to spend their entire lives just learning one language, because of a device like this, because of technology like AI and universal translation, become perhaps the most learned speaker in global history. I have people who come into my community on a daily basis and English isn't their strongest language. And I can be able to communicate to them in their native tongue, unlike any teacher in global history. And I just feel that I am living and we are living at a very special time of society where communication is becoming easier, and I am someone who uses technology to make myself not just a better rabbi, not just a better teacher, but a better overall human.
Yeah, so I think that's, people need to also learn to use their resources, like AI and all that. 'Cause, you can
Absolutely.
you can translate whatever from, you know, Spanish to German to French to Italian into English and learn it within, you know, a couple minutes with AI if you figure, So I think that's awesome. Anyway, I think there's one more question that I have for you. Do you, what is your, life mission for you? Like, what do you want to succeed, in your future?
Well, I want to be known as someone who dedicated their lives to peace. I dedicate my life on a daily basis to ending war everywhere in the world. What do I think I have in store for me? Well, it's very positive if things go the way that I think. As we speak, I have robots that are currently promoting my channel, promoting my mission on major platforms such as Kick and Twitch, and that causes people to come into my community on a daily basis. I have dozens of different accounts and different discords that allow people to be able to find me, including people who have found me today. I had people find me today from Twitch. I had people find me today from Discord, and that is a regular thing. And what is going to happen is someone's going to see what I do. They're going to be interested in it, no matter whether they think it's interesting in a good way or a bad way. They're going to tell their friends about it. Eventually, it's going to go viral. When that happens, I will be perhaps a spokesperson for peace on a global scale. I may be able to meet with different politicians and diplomats to be able to help to end wars globally. But really, what I want to do is interject the types of words that I've been using in this conversation with you for the greater good. I want people to take alien disclosure seriously. I don't want people to be afraid to be able to discuss antimatter. I don't want people to think that life extension technology may not be possible for them, or even mind uploading technology. While these may be science fiction like discussions they may think, I consider them to be science fact. And overall, I want people to be able to know that they are special no matter where they are, that I think they're special, that I can find goodness in everyone, even the most darkest of people. I don't think that anyone is inherently bad, and that really, with positivity and optimism, we can have a very good life here on Earth, and perhaps be able to travel the stars and number the stars with enough time. And just overall, my mission is one of pacifism and one of general learning. If I were to say what motivates me, it's knowledge of the good. I consider myself a philosopher king, someone who is always trying to learn as much as possible. And I would want to motivate other people to have the same types of goals, to be as well rounded of an individual as they can be, to spread love, to spread positivity, to spread optimistic vibes to everyone they meet. And if we do that, the world will be a better place. Really, it's a biblical teaching, but it was true in biblical times as it is today. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. I think that if we do that globally, we'll have a much better future for the upcoming centuries than we had in the previous centuries.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. If you want to shout yourself out or anything on your social media, whatever you want, you can say it.
Excellent. Well, if you want to find me, the easiest way is to just type Rabbi Rothschild in quotes and put that into YouTube and filter by live. The key is to filter by live. I have over 100 YouTube accounts. I have over 200 Instagram accounts. I have over 500 Twitch accounts. I have over 1,000 TikTok accounts. I have over 2,000 Twitter accounts, and I have over 10,000 Kick accounts. So I have so many different accounts because I want to be essentially uncancelable. I want to make sure that I have redundant streams for everything that I do. But sometimes it's hard to find me exactly live. If you ever want to find me on YouTube, the best way to do it is just type into YouTube Rabbi Rothschild and filter by live. If you want to talk with me directly, the easiest way is to just come to my Discord, and the easiest address to find me at is discord.me/rabbi. Discord.me/rabbi. You'll be able to discuss anything you want with me. I have special sections of my Discord where if I'm asleep or something and I can't take your question immediately, you can ask me anything that you want. Just type it there. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I will take every question seriously. I absolutely do. I appreciate the efforts that people make to be able to discuss things with me. If you want to know more about what I talk about quantum computing, faster than light travel, nuclear energy, thermal energy, mind uploading technology, advanced vitamins, ways to prolong your life, different types of cryptocurrencies that may be of value in the future. The best place to do that is to go to my blog, which is rabbirothschild.blogspot.com. rabbirothschild.blogspot.com. And if you don't know how to spell my name, it's Rabbi, that means teacher, Rothschild, Rothschild, blogspot.com. You can find all of the information that I have there. I have basically the world's largest single blog post. You can find an AMA about me in there. You can learn my favorite foods, my likes, my dislikes. Overall, I am someone who is an advocate for people. I'm especially an advocate for women. I am someone who is about equality of all people, no matter your race or your gender. And I'm someone who is who's just an average person who has had perhaps amazing opportunities to be able to impact the world. If you want to go to my Instagram, my main Instagram account is at Rabbi Rothschild. My main TikTok is at Super Rothschild. If you want to engage with me in some other way, you want to collaborate, feel free to do so in my Discord. And again, that's discord.me/rabbi. You can connect with me whenever you want. And Connor, I just want you to know how much I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, to speak with your listeners, and anyone who's out there right now. Maybe your life isn't going really well and you need hope. I'm here to give you hope. I want you to know that I care about you. Even though we haven't met, I look forward to being able to meet you in the future. And when this goes viral, I want to be like a Robin Hood to the world. I want to give to the people who deserve it the most. I want to help people in the developing world. I want to help people who never thought they would be able to get out of poverty. And overall, I have a very optimistic message, and I want to spread positivity and love to everyone in the world.
Perfect. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this with you. This was so fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Connor. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak with you, and thank you to your audience for listening to this. If anybody wants to connect with me, you know how to do it, and I just want to say peace to everyone.
Yep. Thank you so much.